I was usually the type to stay out of trouble and away from danger. But Jim, on the other hand, was the rebellious type. Usually, a longtime friend can pursue you into doing pretty much anything. And Jim was the master when it came to that. Jim and I had been friends since we were 2 years young. Now a decade has passed and we've stuck by each other's sides ever since then. We went on adventures just about every day. Sometimes they got us into trouble, but for the most part, Jim respected and understood my play-it-safe way of life. But for some reason, I couldn't care less that day. It was as though something possessed me into doing something wrong just for the thrill of it. We had been walking home from school together when Jim and I passed up a very dark and unfamiliar-looking carnival. That day seemed to have been the brightest day of the year, but ironically enough, from the carnival on there were nothing but gray skies. Jim hesitantly followed as I walked over to the entrance. A generic "Do Not Enter" sign that ran across the entrance was being held up by a rusty chain that fell to pieces once I tapped the sign. "What do you say we check it out?" I asked as I turned towards Jim. Something seemed very eerie about that moment. Jim's face was awfully pale, and he seemed to be sweating bullets. "Hey man, we'd better not. I don't like the vibe I'm getting off this place," he said in an extremely frightened tone. Jim proceeded to walk away, but something made me grab his arm and pull him back. "Ah, come on, we haven't had a good adventure in a while. Where's your excitement at? It's not like anything bad's gonna happen. I'm here." I continued to try and pursued my reluctant friend with a very promising smile, as he would usually do to me. The leaves suddenly began to grow darker with each turn until they were black. The faint smell of something burning began to take over, and by the next 5 turns, it was unbearable. I had never smelled burning flesh, but I assumed that was what we smelled. The ground felt as though it were going to break right under us if we stepped just a little harder. The temperature began to change as Jim and I stood still. It grew so intensely hot that we became nearly dehydrated almost instantly. "I think we should turn around," Jim said in a frightened and shaky voice. He looked as though his soul was leaving his body at that very moment. Good idea," I agreed, but as we turned around, we noticed that our path had been blocked by a wall of barely burnt-out thorns that we couldn't even see the top of.